Hello, everybody. Welcome to the RSN Kickoff show in our beautiful Centier Bank Studios. Week 3 of action, 1st of September, a beautiful Friday night with Mike Dewan, of course, and a lot of great games on slate.
Yes,
like
sir.
we said, start of September. This is kind of the interesting stretch where we do see some conference games being started maybe next week, but we do have a couple of conference games being played tonight.
For sure.
And a lot of these teams are coming into these matchups with about the same record. A lot of 2-0s against 2-0s, a lot of 1-1s against a 1-1, and 0-2s and 0-2s, but those can still be very good matchups as well. So for the kickoff show, we're going to go over our slate of games and talk about some of the games that you as the viewer should look out for. So we'll start with our first one, Chesterton, number 5, Michigan City. Chesterton, they've had a rough start to the year, 0-2, but both of their losses have been by single digits. Both of their losses have been because of a last-minute second field goal. On the other side, Michigan City, it was a tough loss for them in their Week 1 matchup, but we're bounced back against Lafayette Jefferson and come in at 1-1. We said on, Region Football Weekly that Chesterton, even though they're 0-2, this is still a team that you have to watch out for.
For sure.
2 very close games. They played a close game against Warsaw, which they lost 8-6. That Warsaw team beat Michigan City in Week 1. So,
Right.
This is at Michigan City, but still, this could be another close game between these two teams.
For sure. A lot of playmakers on both sides. I think the story for Chesterton is, again, Garrett Lewis was kind of their guy against Hobart in Week 1, and I don't think he played Week 2 against Warsaw. I know he went down in about the third quarter against Hobart in Week 1. So I think the kind of big X factor is if he comes back. That's a big piece of Chesterton to have coming into this game. But, again, we brought it up before. This is typically a close game between these two. Again, last 4 meetings have been decided, 8 points or less. So if a team wins, they're going to have to close it out in tight fashion. So, again, it should be interesting. I think we like City here, but anything could happen in DAC play. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And both of these teams have played close games throughout the year. So we'll see how that one goes. Next game, East Chicago against Calumet. Calumet was number 8 in our Week 1 rankings, but a tough start for them. So we'll see which team can get their first win of the season. Then you have Gary West and Boone Grove, both teams coming in at 1-1. Griffith plays Hammond Central, our number 8 team on the RSN rankings, their 3rd straight home game. And for Griffith, it's going to be a tough test for them just because Hammond Central can run the football.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of running. Griffith's a young team. Their offense is solid. I like their quarterback Strezzo, and Jackson Lawson was a level-up player of the week in their game against Munster. He had a great day. I think I had 150-plus yards on the ground. And then, of course, Central, they got some studs of their own. Deshaun Woods is leading the area on rushing. Davian Terry, the second running back kind of in that backfield to kind of hold it down. It should be a good game. Again, Central's looking good. They like playing at home, obviously, and again, could be their first 3-0 start in their short program history.
Yeah, absolutely. In our next game, you were kind of mentioning this one to me before we started the show. Hammond Morton against Elkhart. Hammond Morton, I should say. A tough loss against Hanover Central last week, but still 1-1. And this is a sneaky Morton team, but going to Elkhart may be a little hard for them.
Yeah, it's Elkhart. I think they went 7-3 last year. I want to say this is a newer game on the schedule. I'm not sure if they played them last year, but Elkhart's not to be taken lightly. Obviously not a team that we talk about much in the region, but it's 0-2. It's deceiving to think that Morton could win this game, but it's not to be taken lightly. And, again, another early season test for Morton. I think because they're in the Great Lakes Conference, it's now a conference of 3. So you have, outside of, they also have West Side's out of their conference, so they just have Central and East Chicago. You got to still schedule 7 non-conference games, and this is one of those 7. And you're going to have to find teams that, it's going to be a tough test. I think they got Penn coming up pretty soon, which took care of Valpo not too long ago. So it's they got to really kind of get morale up by winning these non-conference games, and we'll see how they do tonight.
Yeah, you mentioned Penn. They also defeated Mishawaka last week as well, so 2-0. That will be a tough test for them.
Sure.
Our next game, Bishop Knoll, 1-1 against Whiting.
Also, be a good game.
1-1. Those two teams, looking to bounce back. Whiting, a tough loss against Highland. Bishop Knoll, they lost, but they got to play at Lucas Oil Stadium last Saturday, so that's a pretty cool experience. But they'll go to Whiting and face off against the Oilers. Then this is one of our games that we were really highlighting during Region Football Weekly. Number 7, or I should say number 4, Hanover Central, 2-0. They will play number 7, Highland. That's also 2-0 at Highland. Look, we know Hanover Central is going to be one of the teams we talk about throughout the year. But Highland, they have the opportunity to do something very special here.
Right. I wouldn't call it surprising that Highland's on our list. Again, I like this team a lot. Big senior-led team with a lot of playmakers that have found themselves on our statistical leaderboards that we released yesterday. Yeah, as they say, somebody's O has got to go in this game. So I think Conor McGregor on the quote there. But yeah, it's gonna be a great show. I think Highland's gonna pack the house and Hanover's gonna travel well. So
and of course we have some RSN personnel that are close to Highland.
Definitely.
Of course, Chris Ramirez and
we're close here.
Jay Simmons in the Highland Hall of Fame. So obviously that game is going to be closely monitored, and it should be. It's a top 10 matchup. One of our only. We don't have that many top 10 matchups, but this is one of them. 2 teams 2-0. We said Highland. If they could go 3-0 the first time, did you say since you were born they haven't been 3-0?
I think I saw it was 2001 the last time they won 3-0. So
and to beat Hanover Central, which is one of the better teams in the area, to do that, I mean, like we said, there is a lot to play for both of these teams.
It's a prove-it game for both schools.
Absolutely.
Again, going into the year, Hanover, the question was, how are they going to do in the NCC? Their first year being in the conference, and of course the past few seasons just running through the Greater South Shore, now kind of making this promotion to one of the better conferences in the area. This is how you make a first week statement. And then Highland, of course, again, I think our words in the pre-rankings to the season was take the hype and run with it. And they have a little bit of hype now. We like the team that they're fielding and how they're playing so far, but this is kind of a game that really solidifies that hype and how they kind of respond to this early season success.
And I think the one thing I'm going to look at during this matchup is the quarterback play. These are 2 teams that are led by quarterbacks, something you don't see often in high school football in Northwest Indiana. Usually it's the running game. Usually you have guys who are really good on defense. But in this matchup, you have 2 quarterbacks who have really led their team here early, and 2 quarterbacks who can change the game, whether it's with their legs or with their arms. So, if I'm going to get very specific in this matchup, I'm really curious to see the quarterback play between both of these guys. So we'll see how that one goes. Next is Lowell and New Prairie, both teams 1-1. Lowell, they bounced back against LaPorte after their tough loss against Crown Point. New Prairie bounces back as well. They lost to LaPorte, but were able to bounce back last week and win. So both teams 1-1. We'll see how that one goes at New Prairie. And, of course, number 1 and 2, Maryville Crown Point. But we're going to talk about that one after the break as you're watching the RSN Kickoff show here in our Sent to Your Bank studios on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Are you a builder, remodeler, or homeowner? If so, you need quality materials at the right price. Whether you're just getting started or a seasoned pro, Von Tobel's friendly and knowledgeable staff can help. And since we're 100% employee-owned, every time you come in, you're dealing with an owner. We have a great selection for kitchen, bath, flooring, decking, and more. Plus, we offer free design consults to help you with your next project. Scan or visit vontobels.com today to book your free consultation. Von Tobel, building better together.
Quintel Incorporated is a family-owned and operated company located in Northwest Indiana that specializes in the reconditioning, repair, and remanufacturing of heat exchangers. Since 1994, Quintel has been handling jobs of all sizes throughout the country. Equipped with the most modern technology and advanced tools, Quintel provides top-notch service. When you trust Quintel for all your needs, you'll get peace of mind and a finished job that exceeds your expectations. For more info about Quintel and the services they provide, visit quintel-inc.com.
Welcome back to the RSN Kickoff Show. Once again, I'm Jack Thiel alongside me, Mike Dewan. If you're just joining us, we went over a couple of our highlighted games and the full slate of games, which you can view on our Strachan Van Til hometown scoreboard. So we'll go over our next games. We left you in a little bit of cliffhanger, but that's because we have one of the best games maybe in the whole state of Indiana in high school football. I'm not trying to oversell it.
I wouldn't doubt it.
But it is one of our game night built by Von Tobel, Maryville number 2, Crown Point number 1. Mike, we went into a lot of detail about this on our show last night, but still this is one of those games where something special can happen. Both teams are at the tops of the ranks. They're some of the best teams in Indiana, and they're going to be at one football field tonight. Crown Point, they're going to be at Bulldogs, Pirates. It's going to be interesting. We talked about it. Ehrlich, the quarterback for Crown Point, has had a special season to start. And for Maryville, we said it's like Jordan and Pippen out there.
Yeah.
And Pope and Johnson, I mean, those two have been electrifying.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see how does the team win? Does Crown Point win with their quarterback play of Ehrlich, or do they win with their defense? Same for Maryville. They can score, but can their defense hold the dangerous quarterback in Ehrlich?
Yeah, I think we've talked about the X factor in a lot of these games. Running the ball has been always kind of the way to do it. But this is a little bit different. Crown Point, as we see, Noah Ehrlich is second in our statistical leaderboard in passing yards. And we found out from a player that reposted our post, said he's only played 4.5 quarters.
So basically, I can't even.
You know, he's put up 500 plus passing yards.
He basically hasn't played 3.5 quarters.
No, and again, that could attest to the dominance of Crown Point, but it also could attest to who these guys have played.
And keeping him healthy
in the past.
Well.
Yeah, it's keeping. Of course, you want to keep your guy healthy, but it's for Maryville. I think they really got to. All the corners got to buy in as well. We know how good their front seven is, as they showed against Hobart. But the DBs, you can't slack off on anybody. Crown Point also has the leading receiver in the area, Nick Soley. They have Landon DeLitch, who had a great play last week against Taft. I think it was our IKO RCC play of the game against Taft. So they got weapons, Crown Point does, and that's why I think they have the slight edge. Again, I said yesterday, flip a coin, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's Maryville or Crown Point this game.
Absolutely.
Crown Point being at home, of course, helps, but Maryville is definitely going to travel well.
Not too far from each other.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think it all comes down to really how they defend the pass game. I think.
Well, yeah.
I don't know, man. Again, we're just happy to be a part of it, and that's the beauty of it. So.
Well, for Maryville, they did a good job against TJ Caldwell, one of the best receivers in the region against Hobart. So that was kind of like their pre-test against Crown Point. So they did a good job against that. And for Crown Point, they've held the Chicago Taft a -15 rushing yards according to their Twitter account, and a team that likes to run a lot in Maryville. That's kind of where we'll see what happens there. But, it's literally the flip of a coin, I think. Even though it's at Crown Point, if you're able to look on the visiting sidelines or the visiting stands, that's going to be packed in black and purple and, white. Like, the Pirate colors are coming out.
For sure. Completely.
And I believe that even if, like I said, it's at Crown Point, this can be a very neutral game just because the Maryville Pirate fans, they're strong. They show out for their team.
No, that game was awesome last week.
Yeah, I mean, you were there. And
it was packed.
You're going to tell me they have a 1-2 matchup? Maryville Pirate faithful are going to be at that game tonight.
And it's like, it's not like we're saying Maryville can't pass. They got John Peters as wide receiver, who I think was also playing DB last week, who did a great job against the Hobart passing attack, but they haven't really had to throw the ball yet. Kind of like we were explaining yesterday, Crown Point and Maryville, their first two games respectively have been nothing short of a blowout for all four of their games. So it's again, this is kind of going to be also, I think, a wake up call for both teams. Maybe first quarter feeling each other out, but you're gonna be smacking a team in the mouth that really wants to smack you back for the first time, really. So it should be interesting. Again, I keep repeating myself, but this is going to be fun.
Absolutely. Once again, that's one of our game nights built by Von Tolbert. I'll start here in just a bit at 7 p.m. Once again, game night built by Von Tolbert. Next game, Munster and Hobart. Munster 1-1, Hobart 1-1 as well. Hobart comes in at number 6, trying to respond after a tough loss against Maryville. Munster coming off a win against Griffith, so we'll see which team can go 2-1. Our next game are a pair of 0-2 teams, North Newton and Lake Station. And then at the Burial Grounds at 8400 Wicker Avenue in St. John, Indiana, Indians versus Indians, Lake Central and Portage. Lake Central comes at number 9 in our rankings after losing to Providence Catholic. Portage 0-2, but a great chance for them to respond and get a big win against their rivals and just start a back play. So it'll be interesting to see that one, as Lake Central does have Crown Point next week at home. So for Lake Central, a big opportunity to go 2-1 with your rivals next week. But don't sleep on Portage. They can come into that game and win. It's a rivalry game.
By the way, for all the LC faithful listening right now, you got to check out that project that Jack was just on a little bit. Zach Sinelli, Claude Martinez. They spent all day really working on it yesterday. They just released Talking with the Tribe. Episode 1 just came out, so I think if we haven't posted already, I think that full video is out.
Own separate posts or own separate videos on our YouTube page at YouTube/Region Sports. And then if you want to go on Facebook, you can just look at our Region Sports weekly football show that we did last night. It'll be in that show as well. Yep. So, yeah, definitely check it out. We got to talk to Jeffrey Lucas and some of the coaches, and we were able to go to their practice and got some GoPro footage on top of the helmet. The GoPro is okay. But, yeah, Dawan, you made up a great point. If you want to kind of see what goes on at Lake Central, definitely check out Talking with the Tribe.
Had a great voiceover on it, too. Man. I wonder who did that.
It wasn't me.
I wonder who did that. But
wasn't me for sure, but I will say who, we should be talking about instead of me is our number 10 team, the River Forest Ingots, 2-0. Going against Wheeler, who's 0-2. River Forest, their first time in our RSN rankings, haven't allowed a point yet this year.
Yeah.
And they're a team that's led by seniors, but also a couple of juniors as well.
Again, I like the Aiden Silver kid, dual threat quarterback, who's up there on our rushing leaderboard rankings. Caleb Short, again, kind of holds it down on the receiving end, and they got some defensive pieces too. So I think Wheeler, again, it's a deceptive 0-2. I think, they played Hanover week 1, and I forgot who they played week 2, being honest. But I think Wheeler, again, being at home, I think they score at least a couple points on River Forest. I think they finally break that streak, and I think it's going to be a solid game. Again, River Forest, only 2-0 team in the GSSC, which is why they're on our leaderboard. Again, I bring up this logic that, why are they here? And people say, you go off a strength of schedule, yada, yada, yada. And, again, if we followed that logic, we'd put all 8 DAC teams in our ranking, and, no matter how they play in the season.
Absolutely.
And that's, BS, to say the least. So, we got to give the flowers to River Forest.
Absolutely.
And we'll see what they do tonight. Again, I think we like their chances. But, again, don't sleep on the Bearcats. I think it'll be a better game than what River Forest has seen over the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, and then we'll have a pair of 1-1 teams, South Central and Bremen, and then one of our other game nights built by Von Tobel, number 3 Valpo goes into LaPorte. Both teams 1-1 for Valpo. A good response by them after losing to Penn. A pretty hefty one-sided win against Drain. And then for LaPorte, coming off that loss against Lowell. But LaPorte did beat a pretty good New Prairie team at LaPorte week 1. It's maybe a different story with Valpo, just because this is a great team. Like we said, you cannot let that Penn loss, affect your thinking of this football team. And for LaPorte, I hope they just looked at the film of the run game, because that's all you're gonna have to watch. Because Davis for Valpo, he is one hard man to stop.
Yeah,
he is gonna run right through you if you do not have the right game plan.
I think Valpo follows that philosophy. Teams know what they're gonna do, just stop it, and it's gonna be one of those cases. I think tonight at LaPorte, Valpo, they're probably gonna run the ball a lot. And LaPorte, that's their challenge. They faced the challenge last week against Lowell, and they didn't really live up to that challenge. They gave up 150 yards to Colton Scott, and I think LaPorte scored first in that game, and then Lowell just came back and did their business. So it's a bounce-back game for LaPorte, and it's kind of a game of momentum. You see Valpo coming off that huge win against Andrea, and they're riding high. LaPorte, on the flip side, lost pretty big to LaPorte, and they're riding low. So that's going to probably kind of play into effect. And, again, we'll see, Vikings haven't lost to the Slicers since I think it was 2016 or 17.
Okay.
And that's kind of something to take note coming into this game. So we'll see. I think I like Valpo, but, again, all teams are 0-0. Records don't matter, so anything could happen tonight.
LaPorte does have a quarterback as well in Penzel who can throw the ball.
He's sophomore, too.
Yeah, you don't see many quarterbacks, especially in a sophomore, grade, throw the ball as much as he does. So, I was able to watch some of their tape on their student broadcast against New Prairie week 1. A good job by the LaPorte students, by the way. He can throw the ball.
Yeah.
And he made a couple of big plays, when they won by that late field goal.
Right.
It was a long pass down the sideline. It was a great catch made as well.
Ali Kring, I think, was the...
Yeah, I think it might have been
He's
Kring.
one of their solid receivers, too.
So,
That's kind of on our leaderboard or just outside of it.
One of those throws where it's in the position where it's caught by your receiver or it's thrown out of bounds. So for Penzel to have that type of ability, Valpo they may have to pay attention to that more, because that's kind of how they went to that Penn game. They were expecting maybe more of a pass game, but then they just ran the ball. So
Right.
for Laporte, they have that ability to run it or they can throw it, but the sophomore quarterback, he's going against a senior full team,
Right.
that's just won state last year.
Right.
So it's at Laporte, though. I'm sure those fans will be out there, in their orange and black. And, I've been to Laporte a couple of times for a football game, and they do have a great, fan base. So
Yeah, it's a
I'm
good
sure,
it's a good little test for the young
and I'm
buck.
sure Valpo
We'll
will
see.
be there as well. It's not too far from them. Two
No.
teams kind of in that way out there area.
Right,
Too far
right.
for us, we would say.
Oh, yeah, but
in that, 40,
We'll be there. We'll be
Yeah,
there.
we'll be there. From that,
You'll be there.
I will be there from 45-minute to an hour drive from here is kind of where those teams are.
Yep.
Porter area. So,
Right.
that will be an interesting game, but that's one of our game nights built by Von Tobel. That's about to start in just a short bit. Audio only, so just a reminder for our viewers, we do have 3 games that are game nights built by Von Tobel. As we talked about, Crown Point and Maryville. And all these games are at 7 o'clock, but Crown Point and Maryville, that one is audio only, but there will be a tape delay. And then we have Munster and Hobart. We didn't really talk about that much, but that's still one of our game nights built by Von Tobel. That will be really the only live video cast for us tonight, and that one at 7 as well. And then, of course, like we just talked about, Valpo and Laporte, our third game night built by Von Tobel. That one, audio only as well. Any final words before we are about to get ready for some kickoff?
Let's have some fun, man. Of course, hope all the players stay healthy, have a good game, and let's have some fun. Let's have some fireworks. Let's do it.
Absolutely. Big thank you to Zach Miller for producing today's pre-show. And, of course, thank you, Mike DeWan, for sitting beside me. And, of course, thank you to Sentier Bank Studios for what is one beautiful studio as well. But, of course, thank you for watching the RSN Kickoff Show. I'm Jack Thiel. And stay tuned for some great football tonight here on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.